I'm just questioning, can something be retrospective? Last week, our state government had a great problem in their legislation about the incarceration of children in adult correctional facilities. I think that was a mistake, and I would ask what's the name of it? Tania, whether we could retrospectively say we get the voice. Can we do something about something that feels absolutely unjust and wrong, that we can turn it back to something that's just?
That's just wrong. I mean, you've got to question first, why are these children in the system? That's where we've got to look at. We've got to track at why are they in the system. And I have this conversation a lot with my the soccer mums, because my son plays soccer, and they're like, well, all the crime rates, all these Aboriginal kids are stealing cars in Townsville and Cairns. And I said, well, correct, but without the voice, what's the solution? If you're not hearing what we have to say, what's the solution? You know, and so in addressing your question, I personally feel if we are part of the solution, because I'm an expert in my own life as an Indigenous person, no one can tell me what it's like to be black in this country. And in the sense that we've got to look at why are they in the system first. We've got to look at the deep issues and the cause of the deep issues. We try to address that when I worked with Noel under welfare reform, when we looked at the welfare system and how that's on the ground in the community and how that's playing out. And now, 10 years ago, I called these children the lost youth because they were getting caught up in child safety, and then they were the ones running rampage, out stealing cars. And so I said to this mum, well, that's really great that you jump on this notice board and you call like another black child doing this, but we got to question what is the solution, because right now nothing works. And until you can come to us, because I said, until we have a voice in the decisions that impact the lives of these children from day to day, nothing changes. The status quo stays the same. That is why we have to have a representation, and you need to hear the voices of those that are affected on the ground. Those kids who are incarcerated, if you did a baseline data assessment on them to see whether they could read and write, they'd be 16, 17, reading and writing at year 3. So these children are, and then they become adults, underskilled adults caught up in the welfare system, and then we get blamed. And I track these children, both state and federal policy system and how it works on the ground. There are red tape everywhere. We are so politicised in this country and in these communities that we can't scratch our bums.
Into the debate, Jim injected the issue of economics, and in particular, the idea that this may save money in budgetary terms by being more efficient. I wonder if it could be seen, at the risk of being overly optimistic, of being an opportunity for boosting productivity amongst Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people by enabling a more practical and effective solutions to be found. By way of example, in remote areas of Queensland for many years, mining companies just paid royalties, but then with increasing input from Aboriginal and Islander leaders, they started to include provisions in Indigenous land use agreements for employment, and in particular apprenticeships and traineeships that produce lasting benefits. So is one of the arguments in favour of it a potential boost to productivity?
I think long term, I mean, say we get across, we have a lot of work to do. We've got to fix children who are dying of rheumatic heart disease. We've got to make the generation healthy. And I think 20 years from now, possibly, we'll be more engaged in the economy in this country. We'll be more engaged as teachers, as doctors, but we need a fair go.
Hi, so I'm a student, so obviously I can't vote, and my school's like very conservative, so I can't do anything in that aspect. But is there any, I don't know, actions you think the youth can take to kind of promote this view?
Sign up to volunteer, darling. Yeah, sign up to volunteer, share some amazing TikTok. There's some amazing content out there. Just keep sharing and diffusing the misinformation with information.
Specifically, can the voice do that the NIAA can't?
Can I just give you an example of how accountability and transparency might work for Indigenous people and having our voice and what the voice actually mean? I had about 250 case study women looking at the NIA system and the unemployment program. We found out a woman finished grade 10, she was reading and writing at year 6. The unemployment program paid $25,000 per participant to get them skilled to get into industry. We got down to it. We found out that about $35 million over 5 years for the 2 subdivision area of Cape York that I work in was paid by NIA to a job provider, but these people had no skills. The owner of the job provider bought his 5th Ferrari, and he probably worked for PwC.
How's the yes vote going to support self-determination for First Nations people?
We're exercising self-determination. We just need accountability. We just need, as a taxpayer, as a mother, we need accountabilities for the so-called goodwill and the billions of dollars, because realistically, we like to beat up marginalised people in this country. Oh, look at them, this is where we're going. The gap's gotten bigger. The rich use the best accountants in this country to dodge the bullet. Look how much of millions of dollars they're actually using with the anti-no campaign. We're operating on goodwill. Where money we blackfellas got. So, for self-determination, by giving us a voice, you've given us self-determination.
Tania, when you stood up and spoke, it really impacted on me. It hit me in my heart. And for me, sharing with people, I want to know, my question is there a way I can get a clip or put it up on YouTube or something that I can show people who are undecided? Because the head stuff, explaining stuff's been great, but when it hits your heart and when you speak such truth, it's hard to deny it.
When I was Young Australian of the Year, the amount of people, I didn't know, I'm a little girl from the bush. I came to Clayfield College with thongs on. And I had no idea that the Korean kid next to me was from Korea. I thought she was related to Jackie Chan. And I sit here and cry, and it was not so long ago that I had a go at Peter Beattie after the 40th anniversary of the a right to vote and the unintended consequences in Parliament. I was 25, 26. I'm in my 40s, and I've got 2 kids who are half white, but they're Australian. And I sit here and I cry for my country. My cousin is Kathy Freeman, my full-blood cousin. Every time I stand up here with yous, I think I'm winning that race with Kathy. And that's where we've got to come to as a nation. And I'm a sookie and I'm a potty mouth. And by you showing up today just really goes to show that you are giving your time because you want change. You're fed up too.
I had the privilege of being involved in the Women's Constitutional Convention for the Republic that happened before the big one. And I had the absolute privilege to vote yes in that, knowing fair well that the question was set up, I guess by Howard for failure, because we couldn't decide on a Prime Minister, a President, or whatever that question wasn't answered. Profoundly feel that, you know, I'm part of history and making history here. Really feeling the no arguments at the moment. So I think a takeaway from this, if the panel can give us just really 3 short things, even if it's a word, if it's a sentence, to put some positivity around the yes vote that we can walk out the door with, so we don't feel like we did all those decades ago with the Republic referendum and walk out of here with a lot of positivity. Thanks.
I just want to leave this on the floor tonight. I've had some of my own friends, Indigenous mobs, my own family, say, I'm voting no. And I said, well, don't bloody whinge then. That clearly is the reality of what we're facing.